Welcome to the Working Well podcast. I'm Tim Boris. Now, this episode is going to be a bit different than the others. Instead of shining the spotlight on a key challenge in our world or interviewing a high-profile leader, I'm turning the focus inward. Of course, I'm going to continue to feature amazing interviews with trailblazing executives, renowned experts. In fact, I already have some fantastic guests lined up for this year. But today sets the stage for a series of episodes that I'm going to produce that will address important life lessons and their impact on how the humans around us show up each day, whether at work or at home. I'm calling this series 52 Life Lessons, the wild and wonderful path to personal and professional growth. And I started this because September 23 marked a significant milestone in my life. I turned 50. Now, in dealing with this stark realization that I wasn't 20 anymore, I spent a lot of time reflecting on life's journey. And I created a list of what I felt were, let's say, the 50 most important lessons that I'd learned throughout my first 50 years. Now, this list I created purely for my personal awareness, and to be honest, I didn't do much with it after that summer. Of course, life continues to be an adventure and what I will often say is a relentless teacher. When we forget some of these previous lessons that we learned, it's amazing how new opportunities cross our path to relearn old lessons, along with many new ones. I guess it turns out that not everything we need to know we learned in kindergarten. I used to believe in that, but we're still learning something every day. And I love that aspect about life. So the 18 months since I wrote that original list have been packed with some of the biggest personal and professional challenges in my life. And it's these wins, these losses, and the new insights that got me to the point where I'm reflecting again and revisiting my original list with some newfound insights and wisdom. And I talked to a few friends, mentors, and even my coach, and they encouraged me to share these insights with a wider audience. So since I turned 52 this summer, since I'm turning 52 this summer, I'm not there yet, and there are 52 weeks in a year, I've decided I want to reinforce the lessons for myself by releasing a series of podcasts and blog posts throughout the year. And I'm excited about sharing and hopefully helping these other people out there, like listeners like you, learn and grow from my experiences. Sure, it would be easy to just post a simple 52-item text list, but that's not going to create a positive impact. Well, not as much of a positive impact, because I feel it would be missing the insights, the stories, the practical applications of each of these lessons. I know that this helps me internalize my learning experiences, and from working with thousands of clients over the years, that context, the meaning, the emotion, those are some of the greatest learning accelerators out there. And this is the first release of this Life Lessons series, we'll call it. The rest are going to be released every week or so throughout the year. Not set on a specific timeline, but my goal is to do approximately every week, maybe two, we'll see. It's all going to depend on what my schedule looks like for putting these out. But before we dive in, it's important to address the skepticism about these types of lists. Yeah, many of them are boring. Lots of them these days are AI generated, and some of them are overly generalized garbage with no meaning or context. Some of them are just recycled from other people's lists. I want to try and avoid that. Now, to be clear, thoughtfully created lists can be amazing. I've personally found great value and insights from similar lists like that, particularly some from my mentors and my colleagues. So keep in mind that just because they're not necessarily your lessons doesn't mean you can't learn from them. A second point to consider is familiarity. Just because a concept, a principle, or a term is familiar, it doesn't mean it loses its meaning or its power or its impact to the person writing it or to those reading it. I've had this happen to me before. A simple phrase that I may have seen 1,000 times before in a certain moment becomes a powerful catalyst that inspires me to start showing up differently as a more evolved version of myself. That's part of the power of it, is those lessons and those learnings and the insights keep getting put in front of us until we actively push them away or we start to incorporate and learn them. As the saying goes, until we're in the headspace to see, to hear, to feel, and to act on those lessons, we're not going to be able to. As we learn, we grow, we develop, we start to see our surroundings through a new lens, a different mindset, a different perspective. And this allows us to generate fresh insights and actions from information and experiences that may have been familiar to us because we're literally seeing it as a different person than we were in the past. On the contrary, if these approaches and these opportunities are approached with pessimism, I can't speak. If you approach these opportunities with pessimism and thoughts of, oh, duh, well, that's so obvious. Everyone knows that. I encourage you to pause and ask yourself, yeah, this might seem obvious, but am I actually doing it? Quite often, you're going to find that answer is no. And again, I've been in this situation many times. This sarcasm or pessimism, which you approach a situation is like roll your eyes. I used to do that a lot. It's on different business things. I'd go to a marketing conference. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Someone's saying to do this. And then I'd start to think about it. I'm like, am I actually doing that? Am I getting the results I want? Many times I wasn't getting the results I want, but I wasn't doing these things throughout my day-to-day. And yet I was still approaching them with pessimism. And that's a big red flag. Step back and say, what can I take from this? The next logical questions in that are, if you're not doing it, why aren't you doing it? And what would change if you did do it? In the lessons list that I'm going to be putting out, one of the examples is exercise is the best antidepressant. Use it daily. And there's a whole, when I get to that lesson, I'll talk more about why I put that as one of my top 52 lessons. And it's been something that over the past couple of years, particularly, have been extremely close to my heart. And without acting on this lesson, I'd be in a very, very different and much more negative place than I am right now. But with that statement, exercise is the best antidepressant, use it daily, you're going to be hard pressed to find many people who don't think exercise is valuable and important. However, the majority of the people on this planet don't do it weekly, let alone daily. So what would our society and each of these people's lives be like if they did it daily and were able to reap those incredible benefits? Just think about that. Think about it for yourself. Do you exercise daily? If so, what does it look like? What results are you getting or not getting? The other thing about these types of lists, or at least mine, is that it's absolutely personal. You aren't obliged to agree with anything I say, or even to try applying these lessons in your life. My main goal of posting this list is to provide a window into my thoughts, my experience, and my values. If by sharing, I can help you reflect and gain new insights in a few areas, we're going to call that a win. Because one of my greatest joys in life is to inspire others to take positive action toward greater growth, fulfillment, and results in their life. Taking action on what I share, that's really in your court. And it's for you to choose whether you want to do it or not. All right. So back to the experience I've had with aging. Now that I'm looking at the world through a new lens, I find aging fascinating. It took me a while to get here and lots of journaling and reflection to get to this point. Of course, I would prefer to skip the gray hairs and the aches and pains that come with a body that's not as young as it used to be. But I'm learning to see these as what I've been calling my spiritual Jedi master. But that's the surface stuff. What's really fascinating is the psychological impact of getting older. For me, it's been a surreal mix of feelings and emotions, and ones that are often contradictory. In one moment, I can be fully engaged and excited in a task and feel like I'm in my 20s. The next moment, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and then boom, I see my gray hairs, a weathered face, and it provides a swift reminder that 5 decades have flown by in what I see as the blink of an eye. But this ability to rewind and fast forward decades in a moment, I'm starting to see as a true gift of the aging process, and one that I'm learning to appreciate more and more and to harness in my life, because we can use that to make our lives better today and in the future. But with aging, sadly, there's a trap that people fall into quite often. With so much life experience in the rearview mirror, it's easy to default to reminiscing about the past and pining for the good old days. We see it all the time. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, so many people are caught in the past. They fail to elevate themselves beyond this particular point in time, or a particular point in time in the past that they're stuck in. And this stunts their personal, their professional, their emotional growth. And I see it as a recipe for sadness and complacency, rapid mental decay and physical decay. The past can be a wealth of wisdom, insight, and act as an amazing teacher, but only if you're willing to use it as a tool to improve your current circumstances and your future growth. Ultimately, that's what this episode and all of the 52 lessons are about. Learning, growth, and moving forward while putting my experience out into the universe for others to learn from. So there's no doubt that the past 51 and a half years, because I'm not 52 yet, have been an incredible adventure. They've been filled with so many valuable lessons, globe-spanning experiences, and just the amazing support of my network of family and friends. But my mission is to mine the past for value that can make my present and my future better. That's why my conscious intention for the past year was reflection. Now, this isn't about reminiscing, though reminiscing can be nice in certain situations. Reflection is about purposeful and focused thought and introspection on particular situations, actions, or experiences that you've had. And here's the kicker, with the goal of gaining new insights and perspectives that are going to help you influence your current and your future actions in a more positive direction. So we want to use the past as a tool to make us better in the moment and in the future. In other words, reflection helps us learn, grow, and develop. And one of my favorite quotes from John Dewey sums it up perfectly. And I've used this for myself so many times over the past years, and I often share it with clients. We don't learn from our experiences. We learn from reflecting on our experiences. That seems like it's fairly nuanced, but it's extremely powerful. We can continue having the same experience over and over. It's like Groundhog Day. People make the same mistakes over and over, but they don't take the time to step back, reflect on it, learn, grow, and improve, so they don't make that mistake anymore. We don't learn from our experiences. We learn from reflecting on our experiences. And there are 5 words I like to add to that quote. And then take purposeful action. So reflection is fantastic, but it's most effective when you use it to inform your future actions. Now, deep reflection is something that I neglected for many years of my life. I've had exceptional personal and professional challenges over the past few years, and I'll share more about that in upcoming lesson posts. But because of this time, I was reminded of how powerful reflection can be when it's combined with your social and familial support network. I believe these 2 factors are the primary reasons that I actually am at the place right now, the mental and physical place, where I can begin extracting value from the experiences that I've had over the past few years. A year ago, I wasn't there yet. I was so in the middle of it, in the thick of it, and I couldn't see the forest for the trees. I just thought life sucked and things weren't going well. And I wasn't able to see the value and the lessons from what I was going through. I had to climb out of the valley with, thankfully, the support of my support network. And it wasn't until I turned around and looked back in the valley that I'd been in that I was able to see the insights. I've been fortunate to have such an incredible support system. And I know that not everyone has that. And so I'm so grateful for that. My wife, Crick, she's been a trusted partner for over 20 years. And she's provided unwavering support through all the challenges of business, parenthood, marriage, and Lord knows there are lots of those. I've also been blessed to have my children remind me of what true love means, the beauty of life, and the promise that our future holds. Again, contrary to what you're going to read on the news, I've experienced that kids today are much smarter. They're more engaged than we were at that age. You're going to see lots of stuff on the news, and I hope you don't watch too much news because these days it is not very conducive to mental health and performance, but that's for another post. Then there are the amazing friends that I've had for what I like to call reasons, seasons, and a lifetime. They've continued to show up both for fun and when it really mattered. And this brings me to the list of lessons I've compiled. Whether you choose to call them lessons, insights, beliefs, principles, or just my random musings, they've been cultivated through the diverse experiences and challenges that I've had and the guidance of some of the most influential people and mentors throughout my life. All in all, they encapsulate the philosophy and the passion by which I approach life at this point in time. Down the road, with more experiences, more reflection, I'm sure I'm going to have many more lessons. Now, some of these lessons, they're going to seem obvious. Some of them are like lifetime or timeless truths, while others represent a more unique perspective on my experiences. So as I share these lessons throughout the year, my hope is that they will resonate with you. They're going to spark inspiration, or perhaps offer a new perspective on your own life's journey. Life is constantly evolving. It's an adventure, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. So I'm going to say, here's to the next 50 plus years of growth, more learning, and embracing the valuable lessons that are yet to unfold for you. Enjoy your time on this planet, and please share your thoughts and comments as we navigate this adventure together. And share it with others you think might benefit. So subscribe to the podcast, connect with me on the blog, and stay tuned for each lesson. Think well, live well, be well. We'll chat soon. That wraps up another episode of the Working Well podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Now, which guests or topics would you like to see featured on the show? Message me through LinkedIn or on the contact page of timboris.com with your ideas. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tim Boris with Fresh Wellness Group, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.